Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Smita Kamble. I am the marketing manager at Design Tech Systems. Today we are presenting on how to achieve lightweight designs with manufacturing feasibility through simulation. This webinar is organized by Design Tech in collaboration with ICAT Aspire and Altair Engineering under the central government initiative for Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, celebrating 75th anniversary of our independence, Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. This webinar will cover a broad overview of simulation solutions for lightweighting and design optimization in the automotive domain. In today's webinar, we have special guest Mr. Rajiv Sharma, Senior General Manager from Exide Industries Limited as an industry speaker, Mr. Saugata Pal, Advisor Program Management from ICAT, and Mr. Abhijit Kulkarni, Regional Technical Manager from Design Tech. Just few guidelines before we start it. If we have any queries during the presentation, please type them in the question box in your control panel. We will bring them up to the presenter once webinar is over. You may also raise your hand so that we can unmute you from here to ask your questions personally. So our first presenter is Mr. Saugata Pal. He is currently working as Advisor Program Management at ICAT. He has 24 plus years of strong experience working in the area of automotive program management, localization, design and development of body exterior and interior, and benchmarking. Prior to ICAT, he was working with General Motors, Technical Center India. That's at the mind. So I'll hand it over to Mr. Pal. Over to you, sir. Saugata, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
So thank you, Smita. On behalf of Aspire and ICAT, I welcome all of you in this webinar for the lightweighting of the design by simulation method. And I have my co-panelist, Abhijit Kulkarni from Altair and Rajiv Sharma from Exide. So they'll enlighten us with their rich experience. So to set the stage, I'll give a little background of this initiative. As you see in the screen, this 75th Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, which is basically an initiative taken by the central government, that as we are celebrating the 75th anniversary of our independence of India, so we should see how we can support the technological innovation also in the country to become Atmanirbhar. And Aspire, this initiative stands for Automotive Solution Portal for Industry, Research and Education. So basically this initiative came into the picture last year when the whole country was in lockdown and people was behind the door. So there is a thought how we can do the technological innovation in the given constraint. So we, ICAT, belong to Ministry of Heavy Industry of Government of India. So there is a thought that can we do something virtually. So in that process, 6 technology platform was conceived by the various organizations under the aegis of Ministry of Heavy Industry. So one of that technology portal is Aspire, and another 5 are by organizations like IIT Madras, BHEL, HMT, ERI Pune, and CMTI Bangalore for manufacturing sector. So our objective is how we can facilitate the innovation for the automotive sector of India by collaborative research of the various stakeholders for improvement of the product development or manufacturing process development, or even improving the current issues in the product or manufacturing technology in terms of quality, and also do the market research to understand the need of the industry. So as I said, it is a collaborative effort and approach. So here we have multiple stakeholders over here, and the stakeholders are the experts from the industry, the organizations or various kind of companies, be it OEM, Tier 1, Tier 2, raw material manufacturers, the equipment manufacturers, technical service providers, startups. So all kind of industries are there in this initiative. Then we have a strong presence of the academic institutions and academia. So the whole approach is to how we often hear that in India, the industry and universities, there is no link. There is a big gap. So with this effort, we are trying to bridge that gap also. And that's why you see there's a large chunk of the students who are enrolled in this portal. And we have startups community also. So altogether, we have almost 30,000 people who have joined this initiative to support each other and see how we can take it forward in a different way. So if you see the milestones, we started this journey from July 2020. Then we started putting the Grand Challenge or hosting Grand Challenge. I'll come to that, what is that. And this all 6 technology platforms was inaugurated by Minister of Heavy Industry in the month of July. And from this month onwards, we have started the internship program for the students also. So these are the 6 pillars of this collaborative research initiative for innovation, starting from student to experts to industry or institute. So they have multiple roles, like one can, if I have a problem, I can raise a problem over there. And if I don't have the solution, we believe that there will be some people, some expert in the country who may answer my query or who can resolve my problem where I am having the lack of knowledge. So how this portal helps in that approach? So here one thing is that there is a live discussion forum where people can post a questions, query, and one can give the feedback, so that way we can complement each other in part of the knowledge quest. We have this innovate and collaborate is the project. Suppose you as a company, you are not able to develop something alone, so you need some help of the experts or other organizations to join together, or research institute. So that way it can be collaborative research. And grand challenges are basically, it is a development project which is having pan India, pan country, or multiple users, multiple application area. So those are the bigger project is coined as a grand challenge. And also there is a resource library where a lot of information database, the technical presentation and other stuffs are there, which can be referred to the users. Now, conceptually, as I said, that this thing came into the picture last year. So we were a bit clueless that how to go ahead. So how to go ahead to get the guidance of the industry leaders. So we constituted a governing board, which is having 41 members across the industry of the various stakeholders. And this board is president by C.V. Raman from Maruti Suzuki India Limited, and our vice president is Mr. Nirmal Minda, who is the CMD of the Mindal Group. And there are, you can see the rest of the members in the ASPAC portal. Now, under this guidance of this governing board, we have splitted the activities in the 17 broad technology domain areas like powertrain, automation, and battery or fuel cell technology, CAD CAE component, NVH, electronics, safety, materials, then also the skill development area. So that way, this there are almost 375 people have joined in the various sub boards, and we have regular meetings of the sub boards to identify what is the need of the industry and how we can support that initiative or need of the industry by supporting each other, keeping the confidentiality and the integrity intact. Now, so far, there are 13 live challenges and 16 projects on the portal, which is happening, and these are all based on the need identified for the automotive industries. Apart from these projects and grand challenges, there are a lot of other knowledge sharing activities. Like I said, that internship we started from this month. 37 students are undergoing to the internship. We have regular quiz polls, so just to brush up the technological latest topics. Then we conduct technological surveys also. We conduct various this information and communication knowledge share kind of events in the webinar in the virtual mode. So far we have conducted 25 such sessions, which you are participating similar session today. We have active discussion that automotive updates and all those things are also posted in the LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Even the various earlier webinars, you can visit our site and it is there, or it is there in the YouTube. So that's in brief about the Aspire. So if you have not registered on the Aspire in this initiative, I'll request you to join to this initiative by visiting this site. I'll just show a quick glance of this site so that it gives some glance to you, and based on your time availability you can join. So you see, we conduct various webinars, as I said. So this is the dashboard where you see the number of people who have joined and activities going on. And when I said that the project for the industries, so you see there are various projects which are there based on the need of the industry. Similarly, if you have from your organization or your thought process, if you are in any project, you can just post the project by going this section. And if you have some query, that also you can post in the portal, and somebody will be there in this knowledge pool who will able to give your answer to your queries. Okay. Then coming to the resource library, what I said that lot of stuffs are there which is technical in nature, as well as information related to the regulatory requirement. Then the various database of the companies, manufacturers, R&D institutes, and other stuff. So the whole initiative is to support the industry to take the technology step by step forward, going ahead. And this whole initiative, there is a tremendous support from Government of India. So if you have some project, not only this technological pool who can support you, at the same time there are a scheme of Department of Heavy Industry, which is known as Capital Goods Competitiveness Enhancement Scheme. So in that scheme, if you have a project and which will help the country, the government is ready to fund that on 80-20 basis, meaning 80% will be funded by Government of India, 20% has to be funded by the proposing organization. So there is a new thought, new concept to move this thing forward, keeping on the vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat. So I welcome all of you once again to get enriched from this session. And if you have any other questions from this session, you can reach us over mail, over Aspire site, or you can write back Smita. So with that, I like to welcome my next panelist, Mr. Abhijit. So Smita, you can change over to Abhijit. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Saugata sir, for the brief introduction on ICAT Aspire. Let's move on to the technical presentation now. So up next is Mr. Abhijit Kulkarni, Regional Technical Manager at Design Tech Systems. He is a graduate production engineer with more than 15 plus years of experience in new product development, design, and CAE. As a part of consultative career, he has supported several customers in various domains by adopting latest technologies in the area of CAE to accelerate time to market while balancing cost, quality, and compliance. So we'll pass it on to my colleague. Over to you, Abhijit.
Thank you, Smita, for such a lovely introduction. And thanks, Saugata sir, for enlightening us, showcasing various initiatives taken by ICAT for the automotive industry vertical as well as for the students. So today's topic is about lightweighting. So the webinar topic is achieving lightweight design with manufacturing feasibility through simulation. So as the name suggests, I can see there are a lot of registration done by various tier 1, tier 2 suppliers. So every industry, every company is working on VAVE programs. So here the objective of running this program is to do a lightweight design. Again, the most important is the reduction of cost. So these optimization techniques, what we are bringing to you is basically help you to reduce the weight as well as to reduce the cost, and not only just reducing the weight, but it will also improve the product performance. So how it works, basically that I will take you through with my next slides. So the agenda for today's presentation, I will take you through the Altair Design Tech company profile, followed by the various optimization capabilities. So these all are structural optimization techniques, named as topology optimization, topography, size and shape optimization. Along with this, I will also cover optimization use cases. So all these are public case studies, and these case studies presented by our customers in our Altair technology conferences, even though they have done some of the success story with us. So that I will take you through. Apart from that, there is an advanced optimization algorithm available with us. So that is called as a DOE, and you can do it with the help of Altair HyperStudy. So basically doing this advanced optimization is basically to find out the various design variables, how it is contributing to your responses. So basically you can able to find out if what scenario, so say for example, which parameter or which design variable is sensitive to your response, or the response could be anything. So it could be a stress, or it could be a reduction of weight, or it could be a frequency. So that you can able to do it with our HyperStudy, which is a DOE engine. Last but not least, we will also cover our offerings for the students and faculties. So Altair is also taking initiative in terms of developing academics programs for the students, where they can go through the latest technology, they can use this technology and can do their project force and so forth, so on. So this is what about the agenda for today's presentation. So this is the vision from our CEO, James Kappa, Altair, who has founded this organization in 1985, and where he want to transfer customer design and decision making by applying one of the latest trends going into the market, like data analytics, multi-physics simulation, and high performance computing. Yeah, so this is the for the interruption. Yeah. So about Altair, Altair has been started in 1985. So currently we have 86 offices in 25 countries, 12,000 plus customers worldwide, and having 150 plus software products. We have 12,000 plus customers globally. So this is a partial list of customers. So if you look at every industry vertical, whether it is automotive, electric mobility, which is one of the buzzword, and every industry is working on that, even though there are some of the startup companies coming out with designing the motor and batteries along with the OEMs. Apart from that, we have presences various industry verticals such as government and defense, heavy rail, industrial goods, life sciences, and so forth, so on. This slide will tell you about our presence in India. So there are almost 500 plus customers in India we have, and majorly all OEMs are working on our technology. Along with that, there are tier 1, tier 2 suppliers who are using our technology not only just for product validation, but they are using our tools for manufacturing simulation, for doing multi-physics simulation, along with that electromagnetic simulation. About Design Tech, so Design Tech is of course a solution partner for Altair Engineering across India, and we started this company in 1998. Our head office is in Pune, and we are associated with Altair from last 20 years. Our head office is in Pune and having the branch offices across 9 cities in India. Also, we have associate offices in USA, Hong Kong, Singapore, and Germany. Currently, we have 750 plus employees and having 2,200 plus customers in India and overseas. So with this introduction, I will first of all move to the first poll question. So Smita, can you just?
Yes, it is up.
Yeah.
Request you all to please put your inputs. The question is, are you doing any lightweighting of your structure by any of the below method? Thickness reduction, optimum material distribution, alternate material. Abhijit will wait for another 20-30 seconds maybe.
Right.
Thank you, everyone.
Right. So now I'm moving to our subject. Okay, and yes. You can see my screen. Right.
Yes, we do.
So this is the product development process. So if you look at yeah. So this is the product development process. So if you look at this product development process is always start with virtual design validation process, right? So on the left hand side, you can see this traditional approach. So whenever any design engineer start with the concept design is he has two requirements. Okay. So first of all, he has to meet the functional requirements, and then second, he also has to check whether my design will withstand the loads which are acting on it. So based on that, he will start with the concept and he make a final design. And for validating those design, he first of all made a CAD model, and then it goes to the CA engineer for doing validation, right? But as I mentioned, so this is the final CAD model. It contains various features such as chambers, fillets, right? So which is not right for the finite element modeling. So for that, you need to do a simplification. So there is another version of CAD you need to generate for doing CAE. So once you generate this CAD model, it goes to the CA engineer. CA engineer will do the discretization of this CAD model, and then do the meshing and doing the quality checks, everything. He will set up the tech, and he will run the simulation. And once he runs the simulation, he will interpret the results, and based on the results, he will give the feedback to the CAD engineer saying that this needs to be modified or this needs to be changed. So it is a iterative process. You need to have a lot of iteration, okay, to come out with the final CAD design, and then only it goes to the manufacturing and final prototyping. So that is called as a traditional approach, which is on the left hand side. And on the right hand side, you can see this is an optimization driven design process. So where we ask our customer to use simulation at the upfront, at the starting stage of your design. So what it means basically, so whatever the design space you have, so something the design modification is allowed, that you are taking into as a design space in the tool, and then you are applying the loads and boundary conditions. So based on the loading itself, software will suggest you the optimum material distribution. So in this process, what it does basically, it is scooping out the material at the location where it is not required, and it will keep the material at the location where it is required. So whatever the shape of your design you are getting, which is right at the first time. So we are reducing a lot of time in terms of finalizing your concept. So that is with the help of optimization driven design process. Once you finalize the concept, then it goes to the CAD engineer. He will make the final design, and for doing virtual validation, it will do only advanced simulation. So CA engineer will do only advanced simulation in terms of he will do the simulation for fatigue or durability, or say for example crash, impact, and then the design get finalized, and then it goes to the manufacturing and prototyping. So that is how you can reduce a lot of time by using optimization driven design process. So even though if you see a conventional design practice, say for example you are an engineer and I ask you to design a bracket for this gurney, okay, so which is at the right hand side. So basically as I mentioned, design engineer always start with the concept, okay. First of all, he has to meet the functional requirement, and the design, whatever the design he's making, it has to withstand the loads which are acting on it, right? So based on this, he will start the design. Maybe he will use the existing design and he will use as it is. There could be another scenario where you want to improve the existing design. So for that, he say for example he want to reduce the cost of the material which is used in the existing design. So for that, he will do the iterative process and then finalize the design. Or probably there could be an entirely new design. So with all this scenario, he has to do the virtual validation, right? That is called as a CAE. But again, you need to have a concept in your mind and then you are validating. So it is again an iterative process. So what we are doing in optimization approach, on the left hand side you can see this is a package space I have created. So nothing but I have to give first of all a maximum material condition to the tool, saying that this is my design space. Design space is nothing but the modification space where I can do the modification or software can do the modification. And the non-design space is nothing but the gray area. So basically this gray area is nothing but these are the location where these components get fit into, right? So you cannot change the design at these locations. So that I can define as a non-design space. So software will understand I don't have to touch at this location. So once you define the design non-design space, then the next stage would be you have to apply the loads and boundary conditions. So once you apply the loads and boundary condition, software will give you a load path distribution, okay. So basically in this process, what software does, it will check where the force is applied, where is my boundary condition or support location, and how my force is transferring from the applied location to the support location. So it will check the members from which it is transferred, and based on that it will suggest you the material distribution. So that is how this optimization algorithm works, and it is based on the theory, and it is a function between the density and elasticity of the material with the penalty factor P. So it's always check the material, the load conditions, boundary condition, and the package space. Based on that, you will get a concept which is right at the first time and mathematically correct. Once you get this design, then you can finalize your concept, and then it again you can go to the validation engineer for advanced simulation. So in this process, you are entirely reducing a lot of time for the product development. So the next question in your mind, what are the optimization disciplines or examples, or where I can apply this optimization in my entire product development process or in my structure? So again, there are two options. So one is concept generation. So concept generation is nothing but the material distribution you are getting. So basically you are getting a shape of your design. And the second is the fine tune optimization. So once you get the concept, you want to improve the product performance. It's not just only weight saving, but you want to increase the stiffness of your structure, or maybe you want to reduce the stress concentration. So for that, we have another algorithms called as a size and shape optimization. So you can apply this optimization not only for component level, but you can apply it for the assembly level. Okay, so that is what I mean to say. So you can see there are a lot of examples starting from automotive to biomedical, so to CFD to space industry. So there is always chance to reduce the weight, and how to reduce the weight with the help of these technology disciplines. So again, many examples. So these are the four disciplines. So topology, optimum material distribution. Topography is basically used to is an advanced shape optimization tool basically, and it is used for the thin wall structure or sheet metal structures you have. So generally any stamp components, automotive, okay, so they are adding beads for adding the stiffness of your existing thickness, right? So adding the bead at the right location and the shape of your bead needs to be defined, so that software will help you to identify the bead shape and bead location. So that is with the help of topography optimization. The gauge is nothing but the size optimization, and there are some advanced optimization algorithm also we have added, which is for 3D metal printing. So that is called as a lattice structure generation. So which is on the right hand side, extreme right. So where you can see this is a beam kind of structures which are connected to each other. So generally, once you run the topology optimization, software will suggest you the material distribution where it suggests you to remove the material at some particular location. So at that location, the lattice get generated. Okay, so that is called as a again, it is ready for 3D metal printing. So why to use optimization? Again, maybe you have a question. So generally, as I said in my first couple of slides, so most of the simulation will tell you whether your design will meet the performance criteria, right? So for that, you are doing the virtual validation. But topology optimization, which will create a design that meet the performance criteria, because you are defining the package space, okay? You are defining the loading condition, you are defining the boundary condition. With this input, it will suggest you the material distribution. So in this process, how to interpret the result? So basically, you can see on the second image, you can see the red color. So these nothing but the brackets, okay, which has identified by the tool. So because of the how the load is transferring from the applied location to the support location, based on that, it has suggested to the material distribution. So the blue is nothing but the white. Basically, you can scoop out the material at this location. So that is what the concept you will get, and then you can start your finalizing the CAD design. Okay, on the right hand side also you can see the brake pedal example where I have defined the package space. Package space is nothing but the design modification space. Again, the gray area is nothing but the non-design space, because the brake pedal there is a footrest position area. There are some locations where the linkages are there, so where I cannot modify my design, that is fixed. So the rest of the area is my design space. I have applied the loads boundary condition. Software give me the optimum material distribution. It has suggested me the nice rip pattern which will withstand these loads. So that is what the advantage or the strength of optimization, where you get the right concept at the starting stage of your design. It's not just only used for the automotive application, but we have many more applications, starting from robotics to general machinery, heavy equipment, aerospace, consumer products, medical, as well as biomedical, automotive. All these are companies are using our tools for doing lightweighting design and improving the product performance. Also, some of the companies, startup companies right now are designing the drones, okay, and even though they are using our technology for doing the lightweight of the structure, because ultimately once you do the lightweight design of drone structure, you have a high flight time, right? So basically, even though you require less power for the motor, so all these benefits you will get once you have a lightweight structure. But even though you have to take into consideration, once this drone fail or there is a drop, so what will be the effect on my structure? So that also you need to take care of. So with all due consideration, how you can optimize my design. And this is what the shape we have got from the optimization, and this is the final one, which is you can see on the topmost corner. Okay, this is a 3D printed drone. Not only this application, but we have applied this optimization in hip joint, where you can see the lattice kind of structure. So we have many more example where you can see the use of optimization and the benefit of optimization. The next question in your mind may be, where I have to use. Should I use it in my existing design? Yes, you can use it. So this is the example of existing design. So where you can see on the left hand side, the design engineer has made this design, okay, and for withstanding the bending load, he has added the brackets at the bottom, you can see, okay. So, and this is the load acting condition, okay, which is the whole you can see this is the load acting condition, and at the bottom there is a support structure. Still this bracket is failing for the bending load. So again, we have tried this bracket to improve the product performance in the optimization. So where at the starting we have defined the maximum material condition, saying that we have given the full material at all location, keeping the force location and the boundary condition at the same with the same material. And this is the suggested material distribution by optimization, topology optimization. So where you can see there is a lot of material has been removed from the original design. Still you can see the stress got reduced by 64%, displacement got reduced by 52%, and also mass got reduced by 31%. So adding material is not just making your design more rigid. Adding material at the right location is very important, and that the capability we have. And because of that, you are making your design lightweight. And even though you can see at the bottom, the stress got distributed all over the surface. That is what you want to design your product, right? So stress should got distributed all over the surface. So this is the capability of optimization. You can improve the product performance. And now I'm going to showcase you some of the public case study. So this is the first case study from the KTM. So where they want to improve the performance of their bike. Okay, basically they want to increase the rotational speed by 150 to 200 rpm. So for that they have designed a new type of rocker arm. Okay, so where they want to minimize the inertia. Okay, and while reducing the inertia they want to improve the stiffness as well, and as well as they want to keep the deformation level at the same stage. Okay, so with this problem definition they have started using optimization. Okay, so the first they have done the topology optimization, and then they have evaluated the deformation, contact pressure, static state, durability, everything they have checked it. And with this is the final rocker arm design. Okay, where you can see which looks more stronger compared to the original design. Okay, and even though they got additional benefits in terms of they have reduced the mass inertia by 15%, and even the stiffness increased by 21%. And last but not least they also added additional rotational speed, which is up to 150 to 200 rpm. So that is what the benefit they have got from this optimization process. The next case study is from Sujan Cooper Standard, which is again one of our esteemed customer. They are basically into manufacturing of anti-vibration products. Okay, and they are designing various anti-vibration mounts, basically the muffler mount, engine brackets, torsional vibration damper, and the objective is to basically reduce the noise and hamper the noise which is basically transferred to the cabin. Okay, so whatever the noise generated from the muffler or engine, so basically that needs to be isolated. So how to design or how to damp this noise, and for that they are using our optimization technology. Not just optimization technology, but they are using our implicit and explicit simulation solver. Basically rubber is basically hyperelastic material, so they are doing the nonlinear optimization, so where they are improving the stiffness, improving the damping capability by using our optimization technology. So this is what they have found out with the optimization, and this is again a video testimonial we have. If you visit Altair website or Designtech website, you will find this video where customer talk about their experience about our optimization technology. The next case study is from Subros. Again, is one of our esteemed customer, and basically they are the supplier for AC units. And every OEM is coming out with the new variants and new models. So everywhere there is a need of developing these AC units, and there is a tremendous pressure on them for developing these AC units. So they have used our technology for each and every stage of product development. They have used our technology for pre-processing, where they want to reduce the existing pre-processing time. Okay, and with the help of advanced mesh algorithms like mid mesh extraction, mid batch measure, they can able to reduce the pre-processing time drastically by 60%. Once you do the pre-processing, you have to set up the deck as well. So for the various load cases or various load scenarios, in terms of you want to do the dynamic analysis, you want to do the frequency response simulation, you want to do the random response simulation. So for all that, you need to set up the deck in terms of applying the loads and boundary condition. For that, they are using our process automation programs. Okay, so say for example, if you want to run the drop test scenario, so you have a step-by-step procedure, so the setting time of the deck will be reduced. So again, they have reduced 30% drastic reduction, and they are using our solvers. And our unique strength of our solver is something they are very scalable in terms of whatever the hardware you have, and you want to reduce the solution time, so you need to use more number of cores. So Optistack and Radius is having the capability where you can use maximum number of cores and you can reduce the solution time. Even though they have reduced the material required in the AC structures, and with the help of our topology optimization, also improved the accuracy in terms of whatever the results they are getting from our simulation, they actually correlated with the physical test, and they have got almost 95 to 99% accuracy. So overall, you can see the benefit what they have derived by using our tools and technologies. The next case study is from Harita. Again, is one of our customer. They are into the seat design and manufacturing, and they are basically designing the seats for bus, tractors, and off-road vehicles. And the challenge for them is something as seat design has to pass through the various test scenario like static seat strength or the impact test. Okay, so all these tests needs to be carried out on the seat structure. So for that they are using our technology called as a Radius and OptiStruct, where they can able to do the non-linear simulation and reduce the overall product development process by 30%. Of course, they are using Hypermesh as a pre-processor, which is our one of the flagship product used by many industries for setting up the deck and having the capability to automatic mesh, checking the quality and making the deck ready for the solver. The next case study, again, it's again a unique case study from AP Works, and why I'm keeping this case study, because you can see this is the first bike frame design through topology optimization, and then it is a 3D printed. Okay, so the entire bike frame has 3D printed. So during this 3D printing, you need to take into account majorly they are facing three major challenges. One is getting the optimal shape, okay, and realizing the optimizing shape into the CAD. Okay, so first of all, once you interpret the results, you have to extract the surfaces from the optimization, and then it goes to the CAD engineer to make it a solid model or a CAD model. Okay, and further you can do the manufacturing or 3D printing. So realization of CAD model also they have done it with the help of our modeling tool, solid thinking, where they have fine-tuned the solid model and then they have done the printing out of it. The 3D print process simulation is also available in our tool. So once this shape is ready and you want to do it metal printing, so we have standard set of metal printers processes available in our tool. So based on that, you can see what should be the orientation of my part during the printing, how the materials get added, whether there is in a warpage or shape variation during the printing process. That also you can check. You can check the temperature distribution. So all these things they have checked with the help of our tools, starting from the concept generation to manufacturing feasibility to the 3D print process simulation. So that is the benefit they have got. And while designing this bike frame, the earlier step was giving the maximum material condition. You can see the maximum design space has been given, keeping the locations where the actually handlebar and footrest and seat has to be there. We have keep the non-design space as a non-design space, and whatever the maximum material condition we have defined, which actually correlates with the outer dimension of the motorcycle frame. So that we have keep in mind, and once they have done the optimization, this is the final contour what they have got. So the entire bike weight is 35 kg and the frame weight is only of 6 kg, and as it is an electric bike, so 4 kilowatt electric motor which accelerates this motor speed from 0 to 45 km per hour within 3 seconds. So that is the benefit what they have derived from the lightweighting design. This is another case study from Volkswagen. Again, here objective is to reduce the weight, and again it's a existing design of this bracket, compressor bracket, and they want to improve the design performance as well as they want to reduce the weight of the component. So again, we have the next stage is we have defined the design space, and this is the third image is something it is showcasing the topology results, and this is the final interpreted result, and this is the stress check. Again, we have done the revalidation of the concept what we are getting from the topology optimization. Again, we have checked the stress level, and within they are within limits, and we try to reduce the weight. So almost they have reduced the weight by 23%. And the constraint what we are given, that is a casting manufacturing constraint. There is another case study from Amazon. So again, it's a topology optimization tractor suspension component. So here the earlier suspension component was a fabricated one. So there are so many welded structure over there. So they want to reduce the welded structure. So for that, they want to convert this frame into the casting. So in the first stage, we have defined the maximum material condition and added the manufacturing constraint, that is casting draw direction. And this is the final one optimized contour we have got. And the advantage what they have got is basically they have increased the durability by 2.5% and weight is also reduced by 8%. This is again an example from Renishaw. This is again a bicycle, a 3D printed bike frame. Okay, and again they can use our technology. They have used our technology where they got benefit, where they have saved 45% weight. So all these case study you have seen, but maybe you have question. So how to take into consideration the manufacturing feasibility, right? So because whatever the concept you are getting, but that also you need to check for the traditional manufacturing process as well as 3D printing. So the traditional manufacturing process could be your casting or extrusion or stamping or maybe the molding. So all these manufacturing process or constraint you can take into consideration while running the optimization. So what do you mean by this member size? Member size is nothing but the rib thickness. So while running optimization, I can define the rib thickness. My rib thickness should be 10 mm. So that constraint I can put it while running the optimization. I can define the draw direction. Draw direction is nothing but the material removal direction. Okay, so remove the material, but in this direction only. So that draw direction I can add. The pattern repetition and pattern grouping is nothing but, say for example, you have similar type of components and variants you have, and say for example once you run the optimization for one of the component, it has suggested some of the material distribution or shape of your design. The second similar component, you run the topology optimization for the different loading condition, it has suggested again a different layout. So maybe your tooling cost or manufacturing cost will increase. So to reduce that cost, you can add the pattern repetition or pattern grouping so that you will get the same topology or same pattern. Okay, so that you can use the same tooling and same jigs and fixture for your manufacturing. So that is the meaning of pattern repetition and pattern grouping. And you can also add the extrusion constraint. So all these manufacturing constraint you can add during optimization. So this is the example of minimum maximum member size. At the top, without maximum member size, you can see the material concentration happen, which is not good for casting. So I have defined the minimum maximum member size, so I will get a nice rib pattern. The second is draw direction, where I have without draw direction the material removal is unrealistic. Okay, I cannot manufacture this kind of component. So then I have defined the draw direction. Now you can see there is a nice rib pattern. Also you can define the extrusion constraint. So design space, the load is applied without extrusion. There is again unrealistic topology optimization or shape has been suggested. I have added the extrusion constraint. There is again nice pattern has been suggested. You can also add it for stamping as well as no hole casting. So all these manufacturing constraints you can add while running topology optimization. The next discipline is topography optimization. So as I mentioned you, this topography optimization is nothing but an advanced form of shape optimization, where you have to define the inputs like draw angle, maximum bid height and minimum bid width. Okay, and this you can apply to the thin wall structures or thin shell structures or sheet metal structure. So generally, to increase the stiffness of your structure, you are adding the bids. Okay, so stiffness is directly proportional to your frequency. If you add stiffness, your frequency will get increased. But without increasing the thickness, how I can improve my stiffness? So for that you need to define the bids. So adding the bids, bid location and bid shape is very important, and that you can able to find out with the help of topography optimization. So how you can do it? So this is the process. You start with the design. You have thin wall structure, thin shell structure. Then you are defining the bid parameters such as height, width and bid angle. And this is the final design interpretation. You can see they can able to increase the first fundamental frequency. So their objective is to increase the frequency to the 220 hertz, about 220 hertz. And the mode what they are got with the help of topography optimization is 304 hertz. So ultimately it's an increase in 19% with the help of topography optimization. So how the process would be? So again, this is one of the example molded pressure tank. So what we have done, so in this tank there is a fluid, and they want to improve the stiffness of this structure because the bulging is happening. So at the ground there are support structure, and inside there is a fluid load. So we have taken symmetry into consideration, three plane symmetry. Okay, so whatever the bid pattern I will get, it will be symmetric to each plane. So for that I have added this symmetry condition, and then I run the topography optimization. So this is what the suggested design, and we can able to reduce the displacement. okay, of this molded pressure tank or the bulging of the pressure tank. And this is the final interpreted design, realized design. You can see the nice bead pattern at every face, and which is symmetric, as I defined the 3-plane symmetry. So again, you can check it for various options. So again, we have done the studies for other bead pattern as well. So you can see whatever the option suggested by the topography optimization, we have get the deflection 7.54 mm. This is the second bead pattern suggested by the design engineer, getting the deflection by 10.8 mm. So that's why he added the more number of ribs, okay, more number of beads basically. Still the deflection is increased. So adding more number of beads is nothing, is not increasing your stiffness. So adding the beads at the right location is very important, and the shape is also important. So that is you will get the with the help of topography optimization. There are some another examples. So this is again example from ZF, where their again objective is to increase the stiffness. The first fundamental frequency what they are getting is 60 hertz. Their objective to increase the first fundamental frequency from 60 hertz to 90 hertz. This is the original bead pattern on the left hand side. We have done the topography optimization. This is the final interpreted design where we got the first fundamental frequency at 100 hertz. So we have a lot of examples. So again, we have various applications, sheet metal applications, where you can use various optimization algorithms to improve the performance as well as doing lightweighting. Once you do the concept optimization, the third discipline is size optimization. So because in this section, once you get the concept, you try to finalize your cross sections, right? So thickness of your cross section. So for that, size optimization matters, where you can take various design variables of sizes, and you can define the minimum, maximum thickness variable. Of course, you have given the base thickness, and top of that you are giving allowance to the tool, saying that I can go up to this thickness, or I can minimize up to, I can go up to this thickness, lower bound. So with this input parameter, size optimization algorithm will run, and it will give the optimum thickness. And last but not least, the shape optimization is basically is used for improving the performance of your structure. So for improving the performance, first of all, you need to generate various shapes. Okay, so how you can generate? So generally, to reduce the stress concentration, generally you play with the fillet radius, right? And for checking stress level for each fillet, you need to generate shapes of these. Okay, so with the help of hypermorph, you don't need to have a CAD. Okay, within the existing finite element model, you can generate the different shape variables, and that further you can take into the optimization. So it is all mesh based, no CAD needed. So you again, you are reducing a lot of time, saying that key design engineer, I have to change this design, or I have to change this fillet, and then I will check. Rather than you generate the shape variables in hypermorph, that is a morphing technology, within one finite element model ready, you can change the fillet, you can increase the length, you can increase the width. So all these shape variables you have created, and finally you are coming out with the correct shape where you can reduce the stress concentration. So this is again an example of sheet belt retractor bracket. The original design where they are getting the maximum stress level is up to 403 MPa. With the help of morphing and shape optimization, they can able to reduce the stress concentration or stress values at all 4 locations, a drastic reduction of stress values, and the final stress values is 337 MPa. So till now, I have explained you all the optimization techniques, that is topology, topography, size, and shape. And the next one is again, there is a fail-safe topology optimization, which is again advanced optimization algorithm we have. Say for example, you have run the topology optimization, software suggests you to the material distribution, right? So which is optimal for that scenario. But say for example, in the running condition, one of the arm got fail, right? So the entire structure could damage, right? So with the fail-safe optimization, we can reduce these failures, and we can run this topology optimization with fail-safe algorithm. Then you can see on the left hand side, this is the rib pattern suggested by the tool by the classical topology optimization. With the fail-safe optimization, there are more number of ribs you can see. So even though there is a one rib failure, it will not, the entire structure will not get damaged. So that is the advanced topology optimization algorithm we have, that is called as a fail-safe topology optimization. And this is the final design. You can see this is again a aerospace industry example, and it's very important for them to make the brackets more rigid and more stiffer for any conditions. The next advanced optimization algorithm we have, that is called as a DOE, multidisciplinary optimization. So here what we are doing, basically we are running the if what scenario. So say for example, at the starting stage of your design, you have a thickness as a variable, you have a material as a variable, you have force as a variable, okay, and in each segment you have again 10 design variables. So you will get confused. So what is the limit for design variable 1, what is the limit for design variable 2, or what is the limit for design variable 3? So you are doing the permutation combination, you will run more number of iterations, still you will get confused what needs to be kept, right? So with the help of DOE, you can able to study those scenarios, if what scenarios. You can also identify which design variable is sensitive to my response. The response could be the stress or displacement or frequencies that you can check, and you can find out the optimum design. So again, in that we have various studies available. So the modify extensible lattice sequence, optimal, full fractional L, Plunkett-Barman. So all these theoretical aspects we have, the studies are available, and you can run your DOE study with the help of that. This is one example, catalytic converter design optimization. So here their objective to make the flow uniform, and it should have lower pressure drop. So that's why they want to play with the shapes of this catalytic converter. We have generated different shapes with the help of morphing. So you can see the red bullets, which is nothing but the region where I can change the shape of my design, okay, and I have defined the predefined shape actually, and then I have taken into the DOE tool, and then we have done the DOE study. The results what they have got is 60% increase in flow uniformity and 12% decrease in pressure drop. So that is what the advantage you will get with the help of the structural optimization techniques. And last but not least, as this webinar is not just for industry, but we are as we can see, there are a lot of students also participate in this webinar. So this is the Altair academic program for the students. So generally any academics institutes, we provide this our technology tools and technology, so basically which is equivalent to industry version, okay, and so that the students who will learn these tools and technology, they will learn the best practices of the industry and will be the ready for the industry. So ultimately it's a win-win situation for the industry as well as the academia. The students will learn the latest technology, the industry will get the ready manpower, right? So these are the academic offerings we have. So we are providing the certification and learning programs. We are continuously doing the faculty development program, online training session. We also provide the virtual internship program. We are providing the student edition license to their laptops. So say for example, student want to learn themselves, we are giving this student edition. There are ebooks written by various industry experts. We are giving the industry projects and so forth, so on. So talking about certification programs, so these are the certification programs available on the Altair University, starting from the CAE fundamental to finite element modeling to structural analysis, advanced structural optimization, manufacturing simulation, electromagnetic analysis. So all the latest trends going into the market. So we have the technology and domain experts available, and with this student can learn these domains and can do the certification as well. And this certification is well accepted by the industry. Once you do the online learning certification, this is what the certificate student will get from Altair. Then also these are the ebooks we have. You can see on the left hand side, for the mechanical, automotive, aerospace engineering. Also we have ebooks for electronics and communication engineering. So every engineering discipline we have the ready ebooks, which is again written by our industry experts. And even though faculty who wants to get trained themselves on our tools, again we have a teaching courseware for various domains. Also during this pandemic, we have started this virtual internship program, okay. So this again program for 8 to 18 weeks. So during this program, what we are doing, we are asking students to get certified on the Altair University. Once they get certified, we enroll them for the virtual internship program. During this program, we are doing the mentorship. The Altair mentors will be there, where we are giving them guidance. After doing the certification and learning, we are giving the projects to them, and they have to complete that project within that time period. Once they complete the project, then Altair again give a virtual internship program certificate. So this is what the benefit they will get. And last but not least, this is the industry outreach program. Again, as I said, everybody talking about the industry institute interaction or bridging the gap between the industry and academia. So how you can do it? So basically, this is a live portal we have developed Altair. So you can see industry outreach program. So the students, what the benefit they will get. So once they enroll themselves for the certification program, and once they get certified, they will get access to this portal. They can upload their resume, okay, on this portal. What the benefit industry will get, say for example, even though major tier 2 tier 3 suppliers, they are facing the issue of manpower, the ready manpower. So we are giving them this website basically, where they can identify the students basically trained on various domains. So industry will get the ready manpower from this industry outreach program. Even though the institute, what the benefit they will get, even though they want to do a session for their students, so basically the industry speakers also registered on this web portal, so they can take the concurrence with them, and they can arrange a session on the mutual convenience, and the industry speaker can do the session, and its benefit to all the industry as well as academia. So that is what the industry outreach program, this is also part of our academic offering. So all in all, I would say it's a complete offerings from our end, starting with lightweighting design, checking the manufacturing feasibility, also taking into consideration academia. And if you want to learn this tool, basically you can contact always support@india.altair.com. Even though you can visit Altair Connect, you can visit Altair University, you can find a lot of information, training material on this portal. There are online learning classes. You can go on to the www.altairhypervoice.in/training, where you can see the schedule of the various courses. You can register yourself and you can attend those trainings. And even though you can get the online help, okay, with the help of Altair University. So there are a lot of material available on this. With this, I would like to end my presentation, and I will ask Smita to show the poll question 2. Smita?
Yes, it is up. So the question is, do you want Design Tech representative to contact you for Altair simulation solution? The answer, the options are yes or no. Request you to please give your inputs. Let us wait for another 10 seconds, please. All right, thank you everyone.
Yep.
So Abhijit, do you want me to make Rajiv sir as a presenter?
Yes.
Okay. So thank you, Abhijit, for the presentation. It's time to listen what our customer has to say about his experience using Altair simulation tool. Let's welcome Mr. Rajiv Sharma, Senior General Manager at Exide Industries Limited. He has 27 plus years of rich experience in engineering, designing, manufacturing, prototyping, and development. He has worked with several industries like consumer electronics, heavy commercial vehicles, personal mobility, two-wheeler, and energy solutions. He is currently heading a division for polymer tooling and development and optimization through computational mechanics at Exide. Welcome, Rajiv sir. Over to you. Rajiv sir, we are not able to hear you.
Yeah, good afternoon. I will just share my screen.
Sure,
So,
sir.
just let me know if you are able to see my screen.
Yes, sir, we do.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. And I will be like Abhijit has told you about the tools, how you will be using it for the lightweighting and all those things. I will be talking or maybe sharing my experiences more from the user point of view. First of all, what is lightweighting? Like lightweighting is not simply reducing the mass. Earlier you have heard about cost reduction. The cost reduction is not simply reducing the cost. It involves keeping the value proposition same. So if you keep the value proposition same and still reduce the cost, then it is counted as cost reduction. Not simply by reducing the values, it is not counted as cost reduction. Same way here, if the product quality, product weight, product strength is kept same or increased, at the same time you increase the mass, decrease the mass, then you are doing the justice to the design. At present, I am working with Exide Industries Limited. It is the largest energy solution provider in India. Earlier, I've been working with Hero MotoCorp, Tata Motors, and Philips India. And in those areas, I've reaped good experience, did a number of DOE experiments, applied the technologies, and I'm like grateful enough for ICAT and Design Tech to allowing me to share my experiences, which I've gained over these years with you all people. Coming to the current trends. Coming to the automotive sector, how it is like the designs are behaving. The cars are becoming more packing, feature packed. They are compact cars. They have more power, more high acceleration. And these all require weight. When you are increasing the features, the weight is increasing. You are increasing the power, higher acceleration. For traction, you need weight. But any dead weight is muda. Muda is like waste. So every gram of weight which you are adding in the car, it should account to the increase in value proposition. So a good design, every gram of weight is accounted for. There should not be any amount of weight which is just a dead weight, which is lying there, not contributing to the overall design of the vehicle. Now that was the requirement. Now what is the need? The environment is becoming, people are becoming more environmental conscious. And we also know whatever the products we make, they are not contributing in a good way to the environment. And we have to answer to our future generations, like the saving the environment, reducing the pollutants content. So if we save the weight, say for example, in the vehicles, we are contributing less to the environmental degradation. And whatever has been the global legislation, which is to reduce the volatile matter reduction, we find that each 100 kg shaved off of the vehicle weight cuts an average 8.5 gram of CO2 per 100 kilometers. So these are the studies which are being done by, you can say, the organizations worldwide. And we are, in fact, any product maker, be it automobile or be it any other product, they are bound to do the cost reduction or something like for the environment's sake. Again, the economics of running the vehicle. There is a competition. The mass contributes to the reduced economy of the vehicle. It consumes more fuel. So that way also we need to reduce the vehicle weight. Height and safety norms, we are having more powerful cars, better infrastructure is there, people are moving fast. We need to have cars which are much more safer, which have more have more safety. The earlier cars, they were heavy, but they were not safe. So we have to design the car in such a way, the weight need to be distributed in such a way that the people become more safer. The advent of EV, again, the mileage is a question because they are not being popular because they can't go to much higher distances without getting a charge. So there again, the mass becomes a dead weight which needs to be tackled. Now coming to the mass reduction, how we are going to do the design for reducing the mass. There is a conventional design process where we used to change the design model. Okay, this section is 8 mm thick, and by experience we feel okay, 7 mm will do. We reduce the section to 7 mm, run simulation, check for failure, modify the design, and do the iterations again. So this was a normal process of running the simulations or doing the design process. Even for a new model, with the experience, the model was made, or with a previous model which was there, which was taken as a reference. We do the iterations, do the modification, run the simulation, or do the actual testing in the field, and finally go for the endurance testing. Many times it was felt what the common knowledge is there, that does not hold good when the vehicle goes to the field or the product goes to the field. There were surprise failures which were not accounted for when we were designing, even by the most of the experienced designers. And this can be solved when we use the newer approaches like computational methods. Before I touch on the computational methods, I would say there are two methods, or maybe some more methods may be there for optimization of vehicle weight. One is you improve upon the design, you make the design more mass efficient. The other is you can change the material. The material change again goes into multiple domains. One is either you completely change the material, either if it is plastic, you change it to metal, you change it to plastic, you change it to composite, or you can use higher grade of material with which are available. Like if you are using polymer, you use higher grade of engineering polymer. So these are different things, and that goes into a totally different domain. And there is a separate stream, I think, that we are not discussing here because it requires a separate discussions. Here we will be considering on the optimization part using the computational methods. Now, going by my experience, like I have been working for 28 years, so even for the, you can say, the reduced, where the weight has been reduced by the conventional methods, or you can say where the efficiency of the product has been improved. There again, in case of polymer injection molded, like metals, I've been able to achieve around 15% using the computational methods. Metal fabricated, again, which are considered to be most efficient and which by normal logic, which are totally where no more metal reduction is possible, we have been able to do about 10%. And for metal and cast foil machines, which we have been able to do 12%. So most of the time, what general belief is belied when we use the computational methods. Most of the times we think as an experience, our experience does not stand in most of the cases. I'm not saying experience does not count. Experience counts in starting the design, making the design more efficient. Even for computational method, experience counts, because in any tool, garbage in is garbage out. So when you use the computational methods, you apply the boundary conditions. And if the boundary conditions are not applied properly, the result what you get is nothing more than a junk. What I mean by boundary conditions, that is, I know my product well, like in what condition it is going to be used, what it is supposed to do, and what input will be going to come on it in what cases, and what it is supposed to do, and what are the failure criteria. If these are known to me, we can use computational methods very well, and we can get very good results. See, since the number of variables are not limited when a vehicle operates or when a product operates, as the number of variables increase, they interact with each other. And then the human capability falls short of deciphering how the things are going to behave in those conditions. So in their ways, we use these computational methods, and which come very handy. Also, the computational methods, as Arjit was telling, it reduces the, you can say, the stress concentration, because this is a derived statement which I am telling you, because most of the components, they fail in when they, because of stress concentration, be it vehicle, be it anywhere, the crack starts where you have a stress concentration. But when we are doing computational method, we are doing the optimization. The stress is uniformly distributed. This was told by Ajit in his last presentation. So what you are doing, you are removing the stress concentration apart from improving upon the mass efficiency. So you can say indirectly you are improving upon your design, or you are making your design more mass efficient. Now let me come to some of the cases which I have been handled, because the tools which Abhijit has told or similar tools, they are omnivalent. Like they can be used in any direction, in any industry. To start with, these tools were supposed to be, were thought of as rocket science. Yes, they were, because they were being used otherwise aerospace industries. Slowly they started coming into the automobile domain, and now it's a time, I think, we can, the 2-tier, 3-tier industry, they can also do it, because without their support, without they being doing the optimization, they're reducing the mass of the parts which are going into it, because they know their product well, and the person who knows their product well, they can only do the optimization, and they can make it more mass efficient. So the images shown here are not only, you can say, just for giving you an idea. They are not the actual shapes. These are images taken from the public domain, just to drive home the point. Like this is the type of bracket which was first done by me when I was in Tata Motors. There is a chassis mounting bracket, similar chassis mounting bracket was there, which was optimized, and the shape was somewhere like the final design which is shown here. Now the people said, okay, this is not manufactured. Of course, whatever you get is not manufacturable directly. You need to know your manufacturing process, like whether it is a plastic component, okay, whether it is to be made by die casting, whether it is made by machining, or whether it is to be forged. All the processes are different. Even in today's world, when you start the design, all the 4 designs are separate. Even if you want to change the material of one metal into plastic, we have seen failures because people fail to see the design change which need to be done when you are changing the material from plastic to aluminum or changing the material. So knowledge of manufacturing process is a must when you are doing it. And when this sort of geometry is suggested, you have to convert it so that it is manufacturable. Like if you want to do the injection molding, you have to remove the undercuts. You have to fill in the undercuts of this part. If you are going by the machine, of course you can do it in any way, but the number of setups are going to increase, the cost is going to increase. Then you have to see how much cost you can bear with these type of designs. But that which direction is possible, and which is shown here. And coming to the next, like this was again a representative model, not the actual which we have done when we are doing started the bus body manufacturing in Tata Motors. There were issues of glass cracking, because there was the natural frequency of the bus was matching with the excitation frequency which was coming either from the engine or from the gearbox. So the job was to move away the first modal frequency. Now the first modal frequency can be moved by the design changes. If we go by the conventional, the best way is to increase the mass by increasing the section thickness, or decrease the mass so that the natural frequency moves away. But in both cases, this was not possible because for static, the structure was fast. You cannot increase the mass because the passenger carrying capacity of the vehicle decreases in that case. So we went for the optimization, and in the optimization, we stiffened the body mass, like the structure, by relocating the structures, the members of this thing, as suggested by the tool, the stiffness was increased. And then subsequently, we reduced even the section thickness of the members. And this way, we not only reduce the mass, but increase the stiffness of the metal, and the first modal frequency was also moved away from the excitation frequency which was coming there. The third one was the engine mounting bracket. Like this was again, as is the normal process. We take, when we are designing a new chassis, we take much of the parts from the earlier platforms. And this was taken from one of the earlier platforms and new chassis was designed. When finally the engine was assembled and when it went into the field, there was a lot of, because the gaps were not optimum, there were vibration and there was fouling when under the extreme deflection conditions. So we were given the task to reduce the mass. So we again went for the optimization. By running the optimization, we not only reduced the size, but we also reduced the weight. So that way the layout was improved, there were gaps were given, and we had achieved this layout for this. We achieved the correct design for the complete chassis. While at Hero, again, we use this technology. This again is this only a representative model, not the actual one. The torsion this is a bike frame, and the major requirement is to have a torsional stiffness in these frames, which was not coming while we were testing the bike. So again, the weight was a constraint. We cannot increase the weight because it was already given there, and we could not go beyond the certain bike weight. Reducing the weight, again, by the conventional wisdom, if we reduce the thing, the construction will become still more wobbly. So we went for the optimization. Their suggestions were there. We placed the members in the way, like the grid was changed, the truss members was changed, and then we could really increase the stiffness by the required amount. Then again, when the torsional stiffness was more than the required, then we again change the section back to the normal initial sections, and that way we reduce the weight again, which was very much in the required category. So that way we not only reduce the weight also, but we improved upon the design to have the required stiffness. I've cited these 4 cases from the different domains, different areas. The point I want to drive home is we can use these optimization techniques in any way. The only thing is we need to know our problem. The solution is there, and we have to design the experiments in such a way, and we know the boundary conditions, and we can solve most of the problems when we use these computational methods. There is no ready-made solution, what I mean to say, but we can apply it to any field, any part, however smaller it is, because I have applied these parts to a number of parts, and which are varied, like to the fasteners, where we have scooped out. These are again representative models, which are not the actual ones from which we have done. There were fasteners where we have reduced the weights. Again, the fasteners form a very large chunk of weight, and even a small, if you remove from each fastener, I think it goes to a big amount. Again, in the battery, normally people don't go for the plastic reduction. Again, there was a heavy amount of 10 to 15% of plastic reduction in the cases where we went for it. Batteries on the chassis, batteries on the bike frame, we optimized them. There again, there was a good amount of, like, the weight reduction was to the tune of 30%, which normally we ignore when we take the small parts. But these small parts, because the quantity is very high, if we sum them all, they accounts to a large amount of weight reduction which is available in the vehicle. Coming to the e-mobility, which is I think the future which we are looking at. Again, it becomes very important here because at present it has to compete with the conventional engines, conventional power movers, and the major issues here are again the range. So range is again inversely proportional to the mass. So if you reduce the mass, the range of the vehicle will increase and they can compete well with the fuel combustion ignition engines. The performance, again, the acceleration and all those things, again, that is again directly proportional to the mass. So increase the mass, you reduce your acceleration. You need to have a higher motor if you want to have a higher acceleration, which is again you can say lacuna when it comes to e-mobility. The cost per kilometer, again, they have to compete with the conventional fuel combustion engines, the cost, so that the total cost comes down. And finally, they have to show the economic value to the end user. So that can only be done if we reduce the mass, if we make the design more economic. The other less explored domains, when we say the computational analysts are, which need to be explored are, which again, which were touched by Kulkarni in his presentation. We can do in assembly analysis, maybe even articulated position from MBD analysis, like we are doing individual optimization, but we can do it in assembly conditions where different parts, they become the boundary conditions, and in that way we can have a assembly which is much more like mass efficient and design efficient, which is even the deflections which we say they can be controlled and they can be uniform. It is not like in this case we can have a multi-part assembly where the deflections are also uniformed apart from the stress. So each part is deflecting by a definite amount rather than like distributing the stress. So the articulated motion becomes much more efficient. Again, it can also be used and is being used, I can say. We tried to using it in the battery where the current transfer is there. Then the current transfer per unit volume or per unit mass of the conductor, there we can optimize it. Again, the heat transfer, wherever the heat transfer is required, we can optimize the heat transfer within the mass and optimize wherever the heat transfer is required more. So instead of having uniform heat transfer elements, we can increase or decrease the heat transfer elements, the fin size, which can be optimized. So wherever the fin size is, where heat is more, there we can have a larger fin size or a thinner fin size rather than the part where we can have the smaller heat transfer. Future of the lightweighting, we say, because it is not an option because we have to go for it, whether we like it or we don't like it. If we see the complete product development process as is, or maybe up to some years back, the steps are shown on the left hand side. There are many more steps which I may have missed, but these are the important steps which goes into the making of an automobile. But in the future, I see there will be only 4 steps and maybe less with the advent of the various technologies which are going, the AI, the Internet of Things, so the morphology based topology optimization we can do it right at this 3D sketching stage. CATIA V6 is quite efficient in doing the 3D sketching. Right there we can do the optimization and achieve the final result. Finally, coming to again, there's the interrelation of web. When we have, like, these are the technologies which are going to play the major role, and computational analysis is a part of it. The morphology or topology optimization is part of this web. Whether we like it or not, we have to move on to this if we want to remain in the competition. We want to remain in the so-called the 4th industrial revolution. This may be the industry 4.0 may be a part of it, but this is what the world is moving towards. And if we don't adopt these technologies in part or in full, I don't think we can remain in competition with the world. And last but not the least, like, there is no ready-made solution for anybody. We know our product design, and we have to modify the requirements of the tool, the functions which the tool is providing, and we have to devise the methods, or you say we have to design we have to do experiments and devise ways and methods how it best suits our product, and how at best we can use these tools. The tool provider can only teach you what are the features of the tools, but how best you can use the features of the tools to your product, that is you have to explore it, and we have to do it as per this chart. So there is no running away. If we want, like, India to progress, we have to do it. I think thanks. That is all from my side.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rajiv sir, for sharing the insights on lightweighting and design optimization. Your experience at Excites. Thank you so much. So we will go ahead and take some time for the questions now. Just a little reminder, please be sure to type your queries into the question box in your control panel or raise your hand. So it seems like we have few questions. Mr. Anand is asking, optimized model is look and strength wise excellent, but manufacturing point of view is very difficult. Abhijit, can you please answer it?
Yeah, I think this has been answered by Raju sir itself during his presentation. So you need to have the manufacturing knowledge, what the process you want to apply, okay, manufacturing process for your optimization process. And along with that also, you can take into consideration the manufacturing constraint which are available in our algorithms. So you can add casting manufacturing constraint or forming manufacturing constraint, extrusion. So all these constraints you can add, and based on that you have to realize your concept. So based on the feasible manufacturing feasibility, you have to choose your option. So you can always have that option available with you.
All right. So the question is from Mr. Prashant to Rajiv sir. How the metal additive manufacturing helps to automotive in lightweight? What is the scope of metal additive manufacturing in automotive industry?
Nay, can you repeat the question, please?
Yes, sir. The question is how the metal additive manufacturing helps to automotive in lightweight. What is the scope of metal additive manufacturing in automotive industry?
You can say the scope is enormous. but the industry or the machine, they are at a very nascent stage. I'm not saying nascent stage because in the last 4-5 years, the amount of progress I've seen is enormous. And I see in next 3-4 years, I think we will be using the additive manufacturing in the production. Like if you see in the previous question, they said okay, the parts look very like they look good, but they can't be manufactured. Whatever the shape, you can make it in the additive manufacturing. You can have void inside, you can have anything, and you can make it in the thing. Especially if you see the engine parts, like if you have an engine manifold, you can design the engine manifold and you can 3D print it. You can have customized engines, customized parts, which you can do 3D printing. Why 3D printing is not being used at present? Because of the speed. You can say in their terms, they say the per kg processing rate. So the per kg processing rate has the increase has been enormous. Like if you say 5 years back, if you take plastic, it was few grams per hour. Now it is few kgs per hour. And same way in metal, with the multiple heads, multiple processing lasers in the different technology, because additive manufacturing has different technology, multiple technologies, and everything is moving towards a much higher production rate. And there are like BMW, you can say they are having an array of machines where they are making the parts of the vehicles in these things. Mercedes-Benz, they are even planning before the pandemic started. They were planning to reduce their service network, service storage, service inventory. They were thinking of like bumpers. They were thinking of printing it at the offshore site. That was their idea. Okay, they will not ship the bumpers of the trucks or plastic bumpers from one country to another. They simply have additive platforms in those countries, and as per the design, they will print it there and then, and they will process it and give it to the vendor. So these are the type of thoughts which are coming. So if we say 3D printing, I will not say the conventional process will be totally ruled out, but definitely 3D printing has a major role to play in the years to come.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. I hope, Mr. Prashant, your queries has been resolved. So we have another question from Mr. Raghava to Abhijit. In one of your slide, you mentioned load path. The picture did not show any load path. Can you please elaborate this load path?
Yeah, so the load path is nothing but actually it is not showcasing your any loads, but basically it shows the members. Okay, so from the applied location of load, how from which member it will transfer the load to the support location. Based on that, it will suggest you the material distribution. So material distribution, whatever the rip pattern it has shows, is nothing but the load path generation basically. So the load is transferring from that location, so that you will come to understand once you run the topology optimization.
Okay. Then he has another question. During BADE optimization, some portion of the object project out. How to decide which portion project out and by what amount?
Right, so it's again a very good question. So basically, as I said you, this is advanced shape optimization algorithm. So where we are giving the initial base thickness to your shell model or shell mesh. Okay, and then the input parameters would be the bead height, bead angle, and bead width. Okay, and also you can define the manufacturing constraint. So basically you can give the direction for the beads. Okay, so say for example, if there is any bead is generated, whether it is has to move outwards, it should generate outwards or inwards. So that direction you can define while running optimization, and based on that, whatever the bead height you have defined, it will get extruded, not extruded, but it move outward direction. So then you will get the bead shape and the bead pattern. It's basically a nodal movement of the existing shell mesh to the whatever the limit you have defined, whether it is inwards or outward.
All right. He is also adding production of components using 3D printing would probably enhance further our capability to achieve optimization of components. Your comment, please.
Yes, of course. So generally, the topology optimization, if you are not taking into consideration the manufacturing feasibility, then the entity design or the shape you are getting is more, what do you say, um, uh, in terms of product improvement perspective. Okay, you will get a design which is a product performance improvement perspective. You will get a design, but it should not be manufacturable. So 3D printing, by using 3D printing, you can able to manufacture any shape. So of course, and it's true, if you use 3D printing, whatever the design you are getting come out from the topology optimization, you can realize it. But if you check the traditional manufacturing process, then basically you have to add the different manufacturing constraint. So that is why you are compromising on the product improvement. Okay, if you add the manufacturing constraint, you are compromising on the product performance improvement.
Yeah, I would like to add, Abhijit, here. Like this is a, when we do the optimization, whatever the solution we get is suggestive, okay, for a 100% optimized product. But when we use the manufacturing process, we have to do certain amount of geometry change to suit to the manufacturing process. Even for like additive manufacturing again, because there is a layering process, again, there are methods of design for additive manufacturing methods you have to use, like how the layers, because when we say additive manufacturing, again, the properties are not isotropic. You may have properties in two direction, one direction it is not there. So again, you have to see where you need to have the properties better. So accordingly, you have to again rotate the part, improve the part, change the feature, because your role does not end as a designer if the software gives certain things, because you know the process. Software does not know where the product is going to be used and under what conditions it is going to be used. So either you have to give that complete boundary conditions. So that is not possible because you cannot enumerate each and every boundary conditions of the field. So those things remain. So that they need to be done by the designer. As a designer, it is our role to modify the design which is given by the software or the tool. It is ultimately a tool, not a final solution provider. You are the person who are the solution provider.
All right, Mr. Shekhar Paranjpe has a question. He has raised his hand. Mr. Shekhar, can you please unmute yourself? Okay, I have unmuted you.
Yeah.
Can you please ask your question?
Yeah, thank you, Smita. My question is for Mr. Abhijit as well as Mr. Rajiv. In the typical optimization problem, how do I consider the tailor welded blank as an input material? Is it clear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate more? Tailor welded black means exactly
Yeah,
what you
the
are talking
tailor
about.
welded blank is a process by which two different thickness sheet metals are joined, and then using the forming and other sheet metal operations, the component is manufactured.
Correct.
So now, if I use your optimization module, OptiStruct or topology optimization, etc., I have seen it is considering only this uniform thickness for the sheet metal parts, whereas I want to use the tailor welded blank going to the next level of weight optimization.
Okay. So you mean to say there are two thickness,
Two different
plates?
thicknesses.
Yes, two plates with varying thickness, right?
Which are
So
laser welded.
yeah, but something again, the welding, if you want to take into account, so say for example, you can define the weld junctions as well, the elements you need to create, and weld material property again you have to define based on the what is the
Sorry, Mr.
pattern.
Abhijit, sorry.
Yeah.
This is not going to help because this weld is not your conventional welding.
Okay.
It makes the material homogeneous.
Okay.
So the first of all, you have to see why you are doing this conventional welding. Why you are doing this welding? What is the need? Because need is not welding. The final product does not say the process or the requirement does not say I need welding.
Exactly.
It needs the property of the material of the product.
Yeah.
Whether you need high stiffness, whether you need low bendability, because of that you are doing the welding. So you have to come from that stage because you know your product well. The tool provider, tool solutions does not know the product. So you need a property from your product, and that is the boundary condition. And you give the boundary conditions of the shape. This is the shape and this is the final property I need from the product. And then you run the product production. It will entirely remove the welding.
And then it results into uniform thickness component. So for example, you take a long border.
You give the boundary condition.
No, I'll elaborate a little more just for a better clarity.
So you can go for the thing.
Can I elaborate a little more so that it is better? You take the example of a channel chassis in a commercial vehicle domain. Okay. The channel which is being roll formed is having a uniform thickness for the flange as well as the web. Whereas classically, when I analyze the chassis, I come to know that my flange thickness, if it is little higher, and my web thickness, if it is little lower, that will be the best weight optimized section. Now, this is possible only through tailor welded blanks.
No, have you seen the Tata chassis like earlier? They were having a thinner sections at not the sheet thickness was same, but the channel width and height was varying.
That was a press chassis. That's not a tailor welded blank.
No, but the final whatever the solution you need is somewhat achieved by this process, no?
Yeah, I'm going to the next level of that achievement. I'm going to the next level of that achievement.
There may be other processes by which you can. There may be other designs by which you can achieve the same product properties.
No, I'm very specific that a tailor welded blank is a next level of optimization. How do we understand that using
whatever you are saying is something like a composite.
It's something near to the composite.
You are joining two parts with a tailor welded joint, so that the stiffness is whatever the stiffness and the strength required. You have variable strength and stiffness required is achieved in the component. Right.
And
this is something more,
more uniform stress.
In normal composites, we have different materials, but there are composites where we can use same. The laminates are composites.
Yeah.
Wood laminates. Either if you use a thick wood, it is not flexible enough. It is rigid. But if we use laminates, it becomes flexible and takes more load. It does not crack under the load. So this comes under the composite, and accordingly you have to take the boundary conditions and see how things can be like you have to do design of experiment.
Okay, let me try that, and then if required I will come back again.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rajiv sir. Thank you so much. Mr. Prashant, do you have any question? You have raised your hand. You have asked a question, I guess, but do you have more question? Mr. Prashant, I have unmuted you. Can you please ask your question, please? All right. Anyways, if anyone have any question, please type your questions in the question box.
And last but not least, Smita, you just explain about this event we are organizing in the next month.
That's right. So everyone, please go through the slide which is on your desktop. So we have this virtual global event by Altair, Future.Industry. Herein, we will be showcasing how what is next in advanced manufacturing. So the code is available, the QR code. You can scan this QR code and register yourself. We will definitely share the invite with you also, so that you can register yourself and attend this event. This event is on 19th, 20th, and 21st of October. The timing is 1:30 p.m. IST. So it seems like we don't have any questions. Abhijit, can you please show the slide for the contact from our side?
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you so much, Abhijit. So if anyone has any queries, you can contact us on the given number and the email address. If you want any your industry specific application demonstration from our side, you can get in touch with you. We can get in touch with you. You can also contact us on the number and email address provided. So I would like to thank Saugata Pal sir and Gopal sir from ICAD for extending opportunity to present and showcase Altair simulation technology for automotive industry. A special thank to Rajiv Sharma sir for taking time out from his busy schedule and share his experience with us. Thank you, Abhijit, for the technical insights. Last but not the least, thank you everyone. We appreciate you being here and joining us for today's webinar. Thank you once again. Have a very nice day. Thank you so much.